Everybody, welcome to the Tridion Docs 1502 Bootcamp about the client tools and collective spaces. My name is Ivan van Lagemaat, and together with Andriy Zhidko, we will present this session. The agenda for the session is the client tools, followed by the collective spaces, all the new kind of functionality that we added to it, and we finish is the community ideas that we implemented. The client tools. So the client tools now got a new browser component. Before we were using like a Gecko browser component, and it released this last update in 2018, and that's a long time ago. So there might be vulnerabilities in there, we just don't know. And it is a risk for us. And also, if you want to do more advanced stuff with CSS, it's probably not supported by this browser component. So there were a couple of options, and we came to the conclusion that for us the best replacement was the Microsoft Edge WebView 2. It is based on Chromium, so it's the same component that is currently used in the Chrome browser. And it will nicely fit in our ecosystem as well with Microsoft and .NET in the whole packaging mechanism and doing the upgrades over those components as well. So that's why we have chosen for the Microsoft Edge WebView 2 component. When you do an installer, it will actually install an evergreen version of the WebView 2 if it's not installed. If it's installed already, then yeah, we don't do anything. But if it's not there, then we try to install it. And also the WebView 2 loader will actually install a couple of runtimes on your folder in the client tools as well. So if you're really looking into that kind of details, you will actually you will notice that it actually contains a couple of new files there with the client tools in order to be able to launch the WebView 2 to preview our components in Tridion Docs. Client tools. We also added a PDF preview as well. We don't have to use an external application anymore, so we actually can use it in the preview inside the client tools as well. We have hidden a couple of those buttons, so not all the ones are available, but we try to show only the relative ones for the PDF preview related indeed to the PDF. Because every time you introduce or replace a component, you also think about should we migrate everything that is there already, or does it make sense, or other alternatives, or make it even better. We found that we had support for the 3D XML format, but when we looked a little bit closer, it does not support the latest versions of Windows anymore. So no support for Windows version 10 or 11. So we just removed the functionality, so it's no longer there. We also had support for proxy and proxy authentication to do the previewing in order to retrieve stuff from our Tridion Docs server. But these days you don't see the proxy and proxy authentication anymore. They are currently mainly replaced with VPNs or other kind of connections or mechanisms to do the authentication, having a secure channel with your backend. We haven't seen it that is used that frequently, so that's also why we dropped that functionality as well in the client tools for the preview. Also, because we have the preview with the web view, some keys are suddenly not supported because it has its focus basically. If you have focus on the preview, it will also capture all your input of your keyboard, and hence those global application keys are not supported while you're in the preview. So you have to click outside of the preview and then you focus, and they can actually use the keyboard. But of course, if you find the mouse in the menu, everything remains working. But if you're really like a keyboard user, be aware of it. If the preview has focus, not all of our global application hotkeys are working. We also make a small improvement as well. So if you do an add map before you can actually select the version, now you can actually, it is removed, and they can actually use the baseline to select the right version. For the XML editors, so we currently have like Oxygen and XMetal. We now support the latest version of both. So that means like 27.1 for oxygen we support, and the previous one, 26, it's still working. We still support it, but it's deprecated, and yeah, the preferred one is 27.1, and oxygen 25 is now becoming obsolete. The same applies more or less for X-Metal. So we have X-Metal 19, we added support for it, and that's also our preferred version as well. Version 18 X-Metal is deprecated, but still we support it. And version 17 is basically obsolete of X-Metal for 15.2. We try to come up with a metrics that you can actually see the compatibility of the client tools versus the server version. Sometimes we get questions, hey, which version is supported with of the client tools or support which version of the server? So if the client tools and the server are matched, then basically we are supporting it. So if you have a 15.1 server with the 15.1 client tools, that one is supported. If you have a 15.0, for example, server and the client tools 15.1, it just should work. No extra functionality, because if you add extra functionality to it, of course, it cannot be working. There's new functionality if it actually needs something new from the server. So that one says, so if you have like a client tools 15.1 and a server 15.0, we say just it works. What is not supported, if you run, for example, a client tool version 15 on a server that is 15.2 or 15.1, that one is not supported, because with the client tools, we cannot actually look into the future, how things are working and how can we actually test it and come up basically with all kind of fixes to it. And it's not part of our release cycle. So if you have a client tools version, it's not going to work or not supported with a higher version of the server. But the other way around, if you have like a client server or a higher version of a client tools, it works with a lower version of the server version. And hopefully this metrics give you some a better overview how our support is in the relation with the client tool version, but in combination and with the server version. Conflict resolving. So before DrawSpace, the main stuff was done in an XML editor, but now these days we also have DrawSpace, and sometimes DrawSpace, or most of the time DrawSpace is also used for annotations. That's the only way you can actually see those annotations. So people can make them in review space, but if you want to change the content to it, of course you have to open DrawSpace and you can actually see the annotation and you can make your change. Doing make the change, maybe some people are saying, hey, I like further my XML editor and continue actually working in editor, but maybe you forgot to save it in DrawSpace and then continue in the XML editor, and then somehow then, oh, I forgot to save it in DrawSpace. It actually saved in DrawSpace, but then continue in the XML editor, and then you have to check in, and then there is a conflict. And then behind the scenes, it says, hey, what do you want to do? You want to check this one in, or do you want to undo checked out? But you have no way what has changed. You don't have a nice overview. So it's very hard to make the right decision. And this only is happening if you're basically the same user doing this kind of stuff, because we check it out normally for a particular user. That means that another user cannot check it out. But if you're using DrawSpace and XML editor, you're basically the same user. So it's for us impossible to check these kind of situations where it's who checked it out and how to prevent it between the client tools or a DrawSpace. So from 15.2 onwards, we have a better mechanism is on detecting it, but and also showing it to the user is a way to help to guide them which version to use. So we don't do anything like a three-way merge that we actually see. You make error modification DrawSpace here in the XML editor, and we merge it, and then voila, you have your merged content. That is very hard to do with XML, because XML is also needs to be validated according to a DTD. So how do we do the merging? That is very challenging. So we make the decision not to do it, and it's the people that actually have to make the decision. Which version do I use? The modified version in the XML editor, or the one that is called also in the repository currently? So people can make the change, and this affects also like opening, check in, check out, undo, check out. We try to detect it, help and guide the user a little bit in that sense to make him indeed the right decisions. So when it actually ends up in a situation that there is a conflict, you'll present it with a new dialog. It will actually see at top your local copy, what you actually done in your local copy. And here I can actually make a change in an XML editor. So that's how I detected that the change was done in the XML editor. There's also an option to show the difference. I will come back to that one later. And on the bottom, you still have your actions. And here it says keep local copy. That means it will actually check in your local copy in the end. You can also click on the latest version in the repository, and they can actually say, hey, I make a change in draw space, and then you can actually see this particular change. And then you can actually say, hey, take latest revision. Basically does an undo check out what you currently have in your client tools. There's also the option then to show the difference. So if you have a local copy, then you can actually see what has changed compared to what is in the repository. And then still you have the option to keep the local copy. And yeah, the last option that you can actually perform is select the latest version in the repository and actually see what is the difference compared what you have locally. And this one will also be visible in the difference. And then you can also take the latest revision that basically does the undo checkout. I'm going to give a short demo on this both topics. Screen. So this is the client tools. I have a publication that says something about the browser component, so we changed it. So the preview remains working. So we have, let's say, the map. You have a preview. You can still select the map, and this actually generate the preview on the topic. It looks the same as before. It used the same style sheets as done in the preview in organized space. We also have support indeed for those images. We also have different image types that can be displayed. I changed, I called them basically the image with a particular type as well. So this is basically, if you're gonna look at the properties in the workflow, you can actually see the electronic document type is PNG. So this is basically the extension of it. It renders a little bit different. We also have support indeed for SVGs. And there's also like a TIFF format as well that we support. And like I said, we also have now support for PDFs as well that is nicely generated in this layer. And I can actually browse and see the PDF. And not all the buttons are available. Like I said before, only the one that's probably that makes sense to help you navigate through this document. It's not only indeed in publication manager itself. So if you do something like browse repository, you also have it as well. So these are basically a couple of topics. By default, it's not there, but if you select it, then you can actually see all the content there as well. I think I have some more. If you have more topics, you can actually see it. So it is basically what it was before. It's only the component behind it is replaced. It is now more secure and also offers hopefully more functionality as well, like style sheet support in the future. So this is about the replacement of the browser component. Now conflict resolving. So here I have a publication called conflict resolving, and I can actually open it in draw space, and then I can actually make a change. It needs to warm up a little bit the machine, all the web applications, and in the end it will open up draw space with a couple of topics, and one of the topics is gonna change, and then I'm not saving it, but then making it change later, also in an XML editor. Then hopefully save it as well. Then in draw space in XML editor, and we have a conflict. That is the plan. Load the components, yes. You're gonna making a change. I'm making a change in draw space, but I'm not saving it. So I'm just in a situation that it's checked out. And then, of course, if I open the same publication in Publication Manager, I can close this one and open the same one, this conflict resolving. And here you see already it is checked out. So that, but of course, I don't see the change yet because I haven't saved it in draw space. So I can here open it with my author. This one I cannot do it yet, but I can do here and check out. It is in read-only mode on disk, and when you do check it out. But here it already detects, it already guides you. So you've already checked out this object. What is no local available in local storage? You probably checked it out in draw space, other machine, or removed it from your local storage. So this is already an indication that you're actually checked it out, did something on another machine. It could be in draw space. It could be indeed like another machine. But yeah, in this case, we still want to continue. Here we say just making a change in XML editor. And now we're going back to draw space and save it here. So everything is saved nicely. And then we're gonna save it here as well. And from this one, we actually try to do a check-in. Now it's gonna give you that dialog for resolving conflicts. Because now you're making a change in the XML editor, and then the latest version is in the repository. That's the one that's saved in draw space. So you can actually see those two changes. You can also do the show difference. So here is basically what it changed is XML editor in the latest revision. It's the other way around. So it can say use your local copy, and then say keep local copy, and then it will actually does all the magic, and it will actually check it in. And then also in the Publication Manager, you can actually see that this is making the change in the XML editor. It is nicely checked in, and you can see it. And then normally also it will be detected by collected spaces or by draw space in this case. If you try to edit something, this component was edited somewhere else, you have to refresh it or discard my changes. You refresh it, and then you can actually see that the change was made in the XML editor. So that's how conflict resolving in the client tools is now working. And this will end the demo for the client tools, and I would like to hand it over then to Andriy to talk about corrective spaces.
Thank you, Ivo. Yeah, so let me walk you through the changes that we did introduce as part of collective spaces in context of Tridion Docs 15.2 release. So first I would like to start with find and replace search and other user experience improvements that we did. So before I will explain the improvements that we did, I first would like to explain the way how search in collective spaces works in general. So there are two steps for that. There is a pre-search step using the Solr indexes that so it's backend search that allows you to find documents that match the search term, since not all the documents are loaded from the publication during the start of the application. And then the second step, where collective space is using the Fonto framework, it does second step search using the result of the first step, and additionally including unsaved changes. So now for find and replace, as well as for the search, Fonto framework now provides us a new is case sensitive and is whole world only properties that can be used from Tridion docs, especially we are using both, but using is whole world only. Now we are improving our research results. So I will show you the difference between how it was, what results were returned previously and what now you will be able to see. Additionally, we also improved stability and performance when using find and replace feature, especially in combination with just-in-time loading. And yeah, as I said, like these two properties are used for both find and replace and search. And for search is whole world only property allows us to improve the pre-search results, and also we are respecting the user selection in the UI. Also, Fonto framework gives us a new way of loading localization files that helps collective spaces to be more flexible in localization process, and it reduces a lot of localization resources during startup of the application, because previously we were loading the bundle of all localization files. Now we are loading only that localization that is based on the user language. So from a functional point of view, UI for search and for find and replace is the same. But by using the whole world only property from the Fonto framework, we are able to display more accurate results. So previously, so on this screen, previously we were using, so we were returning less results, and because if the user didn't select match case of whole world options, we were checking for exact match for the pre-search step, and as a result, we did return less amount of match cases. Now Fonto returns more results because using contain case. So in this screenshot, as you can see, for the same scenario, we are able to return more results now by using the new properties that are provided by Fonto framework. And what I also say that we are respecting the selection of the user in the UI. So if user did select whole world, then we do return correct set results. So in this case, the same search term was used, but with a specified UI option, and the results are correct. So nothing is returned as a result. So moving on, visibility issue for displaying changes in the generic tables inside P elements was addressed. So this is how it was visualized before. So as soon as you are adding a new row, for example, or column, and looking for document history, you will see that the entire table was removed and new table was added. So more condensed view was available only for body elements before. Now this view is also used for P elements, because yeah, many customers are using generic tables and NP elements, so they should be happy with this usability improvement. There is also one usability improvement that we did. So in some cases, specifically in line elements, that cursor, if it was placed in the condition, then it was not visible. Now this issue is addressed and the cursor is properly rendered. Let's also talk about regional date format. So all customers will benefit from this improvement, although it's valid to say that it is asked a lot by US customers, since current used date format that we are using by default is confusing for them, because we are using date, day, months, year, while they are used to months, day, year format. So we do introduce regional settings for a user as part of the user preferences dialog, and both organized space and collective spaces will respect that setting. So a bit more details about that. As I said, this regional date format selector is available in both collective spaces and organized spaces, part of the user preferences. If you are changing the value in organized space, the UI will be reloaded immediately, while if in collective spaces, a user will be asked to refresh the browser tab. Regions are displayed in the language of the region. So, for example, for Bulgarian, you will see it in Cyrillic format. A format of the region is displayed in the tooltip, as you can see here, but I will also demo it. This format is similar to access management and publication manager. So it makes experience for user the same across different applications of the product. The default region is English United States. So if user didn't set it explicitly to the format he or she wants to use, the default one will be English United States. Region is stored in user preferences, and it is retrieved during the application loading. If you are changing the region in organized space, it will be also updated in the collective spaces as soon as you will load it next time or reload the page, and vice versa as well. Document history is still a fixed format using explicit months naming instead of numbering like April to avoid confusion. So an example, but I will demo it later. So the date format is used in properties panel. It is used in the comments. It's used when you are filtering the comments. Let's also talk about the show optional fields toggle, the setting for that. So show optional fields allow you to see all the metadata fields that are configured for a selected object. Some customers have a process in place where they must set certain optional fields as a mandatory one, and they must use that. And although there is a feature in the product that allows you to configure mandatory fields have configure mandatory fields and use optional fields as a mandatory fields via metadata config file, but this setting is for entire system, while there are customers that have departments that have different set of optional fields, so this is not an option for them. And having possibility to preserve value for show optional fields per user via user preferences will address the need for them. So value so this value can be changed in both organized space and collective spaces, as well as respected in both places. Preview. So as part of the preview feature, we would like to use more modern React front-end framework, as well as provide more user-friendly and consistent across organized space and collective spaces user experience with better performance. From functional point of view, the logic for view, image, and review resolution didn't change. The only one difference is that the preview is no longer opened in new tab, but it is shown in Madai dialog. Modal dialog. And as I said, we are using modern React framework instead of the legacy ASP.NET MVC based preview. And of course, you can use the scale feature on the image as it was possible before. So let me do the demo for this part. First, refresh the view and open application in draft space. Yeah, so as you can see, there is a user preferences dialog that has regional date format selection, and English United States is a default one. I can also show you that it also is available in organized space, and later I will open the review space so you also see that. When you're expanding that, you see the list of regional date formats, and if you will hover over it, you will see them as a tooltip that shows you the way how the format will be displayed for the dates, so you can see a clear difference between English United States and English United Kingdom. So let's just check where you can see the values, like for example in properties. You can see them here. Also in the comments, you can see them here. Also, if you will try to filter the comment by date, you also see the date format here as well. So let's change that to United Kingdom. As you can see, the message is indicating that a user needs to refresh the page to apply the new date format. So Let me reload that. So let's now double check if it was changed. So as you can see, the comment is for the comment the date format was applied, and we see it in English United Kingdom region format, and here as well. And if I will again try to filter, you can see that it is also applied here as well. So now let's open review space so to check that it is applied there. Yeah, so as you can see, we are using English United Kingdom here. I can also open it, user preferences in the review space, and you can see that the right value is selected. Let's maybe change it to, I don't know, something strange, for example, that one like Ukrainian. Reload to see the changes, and you can see that the format is using the dots and columns. This is the way how it is used in Ukrainian region. And yeah, let's reload also the draft space to see that is also used here as well. So you can see this used here as well, and for the comments, for the properties, and for filtering as well. And we can also reload the organize space just to make sure that it is also used there. So you can see date modified is using it as well as in other places as well. So let's now take a look on the show optional fields. Yeah, I already did switch it to true because to show optional fields, because I needed to take a look on fields that were not visible from the start. So yeah, let's do like that. So let's switch it off. It is saved. Let's try to insert a new component. So as you can see, the value here as well is respected, and use the same value as here. Let's also reload the organize space, so because you see that this currently the value is on, because I did reload organize space as part of refresh to show you that the region is respected across collective spaces and organize space. So let's reload organize space. So as you can see, the value is off, so it is synchronized and respected in both. Now let's take a look on the preview. So as you can see, there is image inserted with allow image resolution, but we always preview image in review resolution, and review resolution is defined in XML settings collective spaces area. So my review resolution is set to high. So let me preview this image. So as you can see, the preview dialog is opened in the model dialog and not the separate tab as it was before. And the high resolution is shown for the image. I can still use the scale feature as it was before. That's it for this part of the demo. Space behaves differently than Publication Manager in terms of baseline update, and this difference creates confusion for users of our product. When people are collaborating on a publication in different tools, possibility to update the baseline more frequently facilitates the collaboration between them. And also frequent baseline updates improves the accuracy for metrics feature, because as soon as you are more frequently updating the data, synchronized data between content manager and metric feature, you have more accurate metrics reports. So users can create a publication at organized space and start authoring that publication at draft space immediately. But previously, you had to use a publication manager to complete the baseline. So publication reports would work for that publication. But we want users to stay in web technology applications and like draft space and give them possibility to achieve their goals in the draft space. So let me walk you through the list of rules or definitions on the way how the implicit baseline update works for the draft space. So it only works in the draft space. So it is not part of the review space. So this functionality is always on and cannot be turned off by any configuration. Baseline is not updated for a released publication or the ones that are opened with read-only access. Items that have version in the baseline are not updated. So it means that we updating only Z items entries in the baseline that are missing versions. The baseline is updated with the latest available version of these items. The baseline is updated during the initial load when we are adding a new component to the publication, or when a conref is added or edited. Draft space doesn't clean up the baseline when a topic is deleted from a map or conref is removed from an element. This is the same behavior, so it's consistent behavior with what a publication manager does. It does it the same. And as part of this change for implicit baseline update, do not expect any performance degradation in a draft space. And last but not least, also valid to mention that we are using the same approach as in the publication manager for baseline, updating the baseline. A language in which publication is opened, which is a working language by default, it is used to complete the baseline, and working resolution of publication is used to complete the baseline. So now let me demo you the implicit baseline update in the draft space. So first of all, what we will need to do, we will need to create a content. So let's first create application. Let's create a map to this publication. Let's also create a library topic that I will use as a resource. And let's create a couple of topics that we will be using in this new publication. For the second topic, let's immediately create a new version, so I will be able to show you that the feature for implicit baseline update is using the latest version available for their topic. Now we did create some content. Let's update the publication and assign a map to it. Use the map that we did create and use that library topic as a resource. Save it. So as I said, I probably will need to close this one. As I said, draft space updates the baseline when you're opening the draft space, inserting a new component, or editing or adding the content reference. So let's open the draft space. It should update the baseline as a result of that. So let's open the publication manager. So far, we added only a content reference to the publication. So let's open application manager just to see if it is added to the baseline. Still opening. Okay. So let me show you the baseline. As you can see, the library topics is in the was added to the baseline and the version is selected. So now let's move back and let's insert two new topics that we added, created before. So let's insert the first one. Let's save the map first. I will explain you why I'm doing like that. And then let's also insert the second one. But let's not save the map. So let's return back to the publication manager and reload the baseline. So as you can see, first topic I did add that to the draft space and saved the map. As a result, it is used in my publication. While for the second one, I did add that to the publication, but I didn't save the map yet, and the result it is shown as not used, but the second version is selected. So let me return back and save the map. Now I can reload my baseline. Yeah, as you can see, now it is used. So now let's return back to the draft space and remove the first topic. Second was also removed because I injected it into the first one, but okay. So let's save the map and return back to the publication manager and check the baseline. What is the current state for that? As you can see, both of them are marked as not used, but they are not removed from the baseline. So this is the same behavior as publication manager does it. So now let's return back. And for the first topic that we did create, let's also create the second version for it. So now we have second version. What next step, what we will do, we will again insert that topic. Save the map. So as you do remember, we did create the second version for that topic, but let's check because as I did mention before, we are setting, so updating the baseline and setting the version only for that baseline entries that doesn't have a version. So library, so this first topic had a version, it was not used, and when we did edit back, version was not updated. Yeah, let's also do a final case and insert a new component. So let's create it from the draft space. Let's save it. And also let's reload the baseline. So as you can see, it was added and it is used and the version is set. That's it for implicit baseline update. We improved usability of draft space by adding a possibility to view, select, and insert variables in draft space. The reason for that is because the increased number of technical authors are seeking advanced authoring capabilities in draft space to minimize time spent in the desktop XML editors. There are also another use case where customers whose subject matter experts performs tasks very similar to technical authors, and these users will benefit from this feature because it will reduce their dependency on the technical authors. They can perform the tasks on their own. So there is a modal dialog when you're trying to edit or insert a variable. In both cases, it looks similar. When you're opening that modal dialog, all resources of the publication are retrieved and XML content of that resources where the variables that has some values are loaded. If some resources fail to load, we will still display the remaining content and show an error message to indicate that something failed to load as a notification. If the resource contain a variable with duplicated variable IDs, then the warning icon is will be shown in the list to indicate that case. So looking into the picture, so there is variable ID column, value column, and resource. So resource represents resource represents the name of the resource that is used. For the value column, if the value cannot be displayed under this column, then there will be a message saying no text content. And in this case, so it is most likely it's an image. So then you will need to click on that entry, and then the preview in the resource panel will show you the preview for that image. So let's a bit talk more about this preview panel. So as soon as you're navigating across different entries in the list, there will be previewed and highlighted in this preview panel. It can help to also get more to make a decision which variable to select based on the context of the resource and in which resource this variable is used. And so I will explain that the behavior and the UI around this resource preview panel during the presentation. So this is short or more descriptive information of not a short, more descriptive information of what I did explain as part of the previous slide for the preview panel. So as I said, you can edit a variable and insert. So let's cover the edit functionality. So when you are selecting an element that already has a value for the variable defined, and you're opening the clicking to edit that variable, dialog will be opened, and the value that is currently selected will be pre-selected, and then the preview panel will show you the preview of that resource and highlight the value for that. If the variable for so the var ref attribute for the variable that you would like to define is not set, then if you open the dialog, then nothing will be selected in the list. You can only choose an element with variable ID of the element that is the same as you are trying to edit. So in other words, for example, if you are trying to edit the variable element for text content, for paragraph, for example, you cannot insert an element with var ID that is an image. So you have different options how to open your variable dialog. You can use the in context button that will be displayed as soon as you're clicking on the variable, or you can open the dialog from the attributes section panel. Once you are updating the variable, so when you did choose the value, the content is loaded in the document view. So again, this is a summary of things that I did mention for reference, and I will also demo that later. As I said already, you can update and insert a variable. So for inserting a variable, there is a new button in the ribbon toolbar that can be used. It will open the dialog that is similar to set a variable. So they are the same, as it's just the labels are different, and list of available variables will be displayed there. When you are clicking an insert button for the variable, then the element is added to the document. Insert button will be available only if it is allowed by the schema. The position of the element is defined by the cursor, but with regards to the schema. If the referenced element has an attributes that are, if the element has attributes, they will be copied to the inserted element. And if the variable, so if the variable cannot be inserted to the cursor position to the data rules, the insert button will be disabled in the model. So let me do the demo for the variables in the draft space. First, let's open application. So there is a variable, so I can click on that, and you can see the button that allows you to remove or edit a variable. Another option how you open this dialog that I will explain a bit later. You can open attributes and open it from here. So in this dialog, you can see a UI control that allows you to filter by value, for example, by variable ID, like vendor name, or by the value. So quite useful feature. You can also filter by ID from the filters, by the value, or you can display the variables for a specific resource that will limit your the list of the variables that you have in your list. There's also a possibility to sort, so you can choose to sort by value, for example, and either descending or ascending. Let's also, yeah, let's cover probably this case first. So as you can see, there are two variables that has the same variable ID, and in this case, we do show the warning message to inform user about that. Let's also open the same dialog from Publication Manager. What I wanted to show that, yeah, as you can see, there is a variable that doesn't have a value and a resource. So in this case, we do not, as I mentioned, in this case, we do not show and list this variable in the list of available variables. So let's apply a different, probably before applying, let's just see that when you're navigating between the values, the resource preview is showing you navigating showing you the resource and navigating you to the highlighting you exact value of the variable. And as I mentioned, if the value cannot be displayed because it's an image, then it will be displayed as no text content. But when you will click on that, the resource preview will show you the resource and highlight your image. And as I also mentioned, like you cannot insert, because in our case it's a p element, and we are cannot insert image and apply and change that variable to the image variable. So the button is disabled. So let's apply another value here. As you can see, this applied in the document. We can also insert a new variable. So let's insert a new variable here. As you can see, it is applied and displayed in the list. We can also insert an image one. So it will be also applied and displayed in the document. What I also did mention that if it is not allowed by the schema, so you cannot insert, in some cases, you cannot insert a variable. For example, here, it is not allowed to insert any variable. Yeah, that's it. It concludes demo for this part. We'll cover community ideas that we was delivered as part of the collective spaces in context of Tridion Docs 15.2 release. So we do value input from our customers and incorporate it into our solutions, including Tridion Docs, of course. We read, review, and add your ideas posted on our community portal into the product. So let's mention ideas that we did include into the collective spaces as part of Tridion Docs 15.2. So today we did demo display datetime format based on the user regional settings that is available in both collective spaces and organized space. I also demoed you a show optional fields setting that is now preserved, and also it enhances usability for both web interfaces. And there is also small accessibility improvement that allows to add an empty alt element for inline images. So we would like to say thank you to our community for such great improvements to the product. We also encourage you to continue your contribution, as well as we would like to say thank you to everyone who also has been encouraging customers to post on Ideas portal, and please continue to do so. This brings benefits to the product, makes it better and for our customers, and makes them happy. So with this, we are finalizing our bootcamp for today. Thank you.